Making headlines tonight. 2 million doses of Sinovac vaccine have arrived in Cambodia, received by Prime Minister Hun Sen, who is very keen to see Cambodia have its very own vaccine factory, producing the Chinese vaccines. On Thursday, Cambodians start to celebrate the 3-day water festival in a new normal. Female petanque world champion Uxre Mum receives a warm welcome during her arrival at Phnom Penh International Airport. Israel startup Redefine Meat offers 3D printing plant-based meat products, also unveiling what is called the world's first whole cuts that resemble both beef and lamb. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. Prime Minister Hun Sen has asked Chinese leaders to consider establishing COVID-19 factory in Cambodia. The Prime Minister was speaking on Wednesday morning during the handover ceremony of 2 million doses of Sinovac vaccine from China. The COVID-19 vaccine was turned over to the Prime Minister by the Chinese ambassador Wang Wentian. EAC News reporter Ria Soka has more.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has revealed that he had a talk with Chinese Ambassador Wang Wentian about the continued supply of vaccines, reaching the initiative on vaccine production in Cambodia. The Prime Minister says that in doing so, Cambodia will not have a problem in securing vaccines against COVID-19 if it persists 3 to 5 years from now. He says no one knows when the pandemic will end, but for him, he was just thinking of the possibility that it may last longer. And he wants the Kingdom of Cambodia to produce its own vaccine in the country, as well as supply to other countries. The Prime Minister has compared the situation with Thailand. He says that Thailand is already producing AstraZeneca. For Cambodia, he wishes to produce either Sinopharm or Sinovac. Prime Minister Hun Sen hopes that Chinese Ambassador Wang Wentian will send his request to Chinese President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Li Keqiang, as well as other relevant parties as soon as possible to establish a vaccine factory in Cambodia. In the beginning of the handover ceremony of the 2 million doses of Sinovac vaccine, Chinese Ambassador to Cambodia Wang Wentian has affirmed on behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China that the Chinese government will not stop supplying COVID-19 vaccine for Cambodia if the COVID-19 crisis won't end. The ambassador says China and Cambodia are like hands and feet, good friends who know each other well. China has already provided a total of 36.8 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines to Cambodia. 8.3 million were donations, including the latest 2 million received by Cambodia, while 28.5 million doses were purchased by the government. Rhea Soko, EAC News.
The 11th Asia-Europe Parliamentary Partnership meeting was held virtually on Tuesday, under the theme Strengthening Parliamentary Partnership for Peace and Sustainable Development in the Era of COVID-19 and Beyond. The meeting was co-chaired by the National Assembly of Cambodia and the Senate of the Kingdom of Cambodia. During the closing remarks on Tuesday evening, National Assembly President Sai Chum has highlighted the importance of multilateralism in addressing global issues such as COVID-19 and climate crisis. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has the details.
President of the Senate of the Kingdom of Cambodia, Sai Chum, has underscored the importance of ASAP's role in promoting peaceful dialogues with respect to international law and sovereignty between nations, as well as improving global public health, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic era. At the National Assembly, President Heng Samran has reiterated the importance of multilateralism dialogue in addressing global issues. Both presidents has called on all head parliamentary members to enhance dialogues for a post-pandemic economic recovery. Vice President of the European Parliament and former President of ASAP 10, Heidi Hautala, has called for a highly political respect and commitment in order to overcome global issues at present, which might increase in the near future, such as what he called a climate pandemic. Prime Minister Hun Sen and chair of the 13th ASEAN Summit has stressed the importance of the Asia-Europe Parliamentary Partnership, promoting a trust-based cooperation between the nations. The heads of parliament have also urged ASEAN members to cooperate more intensively on the production and distribution of COVID-19 vaccines, supporting the work of the World Health Organization, and has given its condolences for all families who have lost someone due to the pandemic. ASEP 11 delegates have also shown commitment to strengthen the cooperation between the private sectors, especially on behalf of foreign investments on micro, small, and medium enterprises in global production networks and supply chains. They believe that micro, small, and medium enterprises have an important role in the context of post-pandemic socio-economic recovery. Educational and academic exchanges were also discussed during the meeting, with Asia-Europe members committed to further support the creation of a cultural corridor between the regions, encouraging the nations to create inter-regional virtual museums. The tourism sector was also acknowledged as a vital role for the livelihood of all citizens in Asia-Europe nations, with ASEP 11 called ASEAN partners to their utmost efforts to stabilize international tourism. At last, climate issues were also addressed, with ASEP 11 reaffirming its commitment to fully implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Cambodia will also host the Asia-Europe meeting, or ASEM 13, on 25 to 26 November. Yuri Matosco, EAC News.
You are watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Water Festival in Cambodia is just on time, as the country fully reopens, especially for the tourism sector. However, the government is still concerned in allowing celebrations to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Although cancelled, people could still have their own celebration of the Khmer Water Festival. But what does the Water Festival mean for Cambodians and foreign nationals living in the kingdom? EAC News reporter Ria Soka tells the story.
Bon Om Tuk in Khmer language. It means Boat Racing Festival, a 3-day Cambodian holiday celebrated in late October or early November, marking the end of the country's rainy season, as well as the change in flow of the sacred river, Tonle Sap River, back from the Great Lake to the Mekong River at Phnom Penh. Royal boat races occur on the first day. Following the colorful boat racing, large lanterns are released as part of the Bunday Bratib ceremony at 6 o'clock in the evening. It represents prayer for peace from Praia May Konkea, or the goddess of Ganga. The goddess is viewed as the mother of seas, rivers, streams, creeks, and lakes. Cambodians believe that Praia May Konkea protects and provides the water for human and animal husbandry and the flow of the sediments and fish. The second day of the festival is called O Ambok. It says about the worship of the moon. It takes place at 12 minutes past midnight and invokes a lantern lighting ceremony with prayers to Preya Portrisat, who invented the legend of a moon rabbit. In the tradition, during the O Ambok ceremony, a group play a game where members must make each other laugh. Whoever lasts the longest wins and decides who the loser is. The loser must then eat ambok with bananas until the end of the day. On the last day, a ribbon is cut, signifying the end of the boat race and the Water and Moon Festival. But with the COVID-19 situation in the country, the royal government has decided to cancel the spectacular celebrations of the Cambodian Water Festival. However, people can still enjoy the 3 days holiday away from work while spending time with their families. Just a reminder from the Ministry of Health and the royal government: never forget the preventative measures and safety precautions against the COVID-19 infection. Reyes Soko, EAC News.
After 2 weeks of daily COVID-19 cases below 100, Cambodia's daily cases are now approximately half. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Health has announced 51 new cases of COVID-19. That's 3 more compared to the 48 new cases announced on Tuesday. That makes the country's total tally of 119,687. Of the 51 new cases, 5 are imported. That means 46 community transmissions have been discovered. 48 patients have been discharged overnight. Cambodia's total recovery is now at 116,072. Sadly, 5 people lost their lives due to COVID-19 within the last 24 hours. 4 of them were unvaccinated patients. The country's death toll has climbed to 2,881. Active cases are 734. The Ministry of Information organised a workshop on Tuesday for journalists in the country. The workshop purpose was to provide participants with a better understanding of the profession of journalism, particularly in regarding to the legal framework. EAC News reporter Dashani Gochan has the story.
On Tuesday morning, the Ministry of Information held a workshop on the professional practice and freedom of the press within the legal framework of the Kingdom of Cambodia. It was attended by more than 160 media representatives, along with the UNESCO Communications and Information Project Manager and several senior government officials. The Minister of Information, Q Kanyarit, has urged journalists and authorities to find out more about each other's work. He added that this workshop marked a historic opportunity for journalists and competent authorities at the Ministry of Interior and lawyers from the Ministry of Justice to meet directly and discuss any points of disagreement in their individual work practices so that any future problems may be avoided. The minister also discussed the important role the press plays in a democratic society, but he also stressed that all independent journalists are not free from the rule of law or the government. He went on to explain that the word independence refers to the freedom of thought of journalists, but should not equal either absolute positions of opposition or support. In a Facebook post made today, the minister further expressed his grievances about the conversation surrounding journalism in Cambodia. He wrote saying that it seems 80% of those who talk about protecting journalists are not journalists themselves, and are only using journalists to further their own ulterior motives. He hopes that the social status of real journalists will be recognized and respected. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
73 members of the Cambodian Blue Helmet Forces have returned to Cambodia on Tuesday. They have completed a UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. Director General of the National Centre for Peacekeeping Forces, General Saim Savani, has welcomed the troops, congratulating them for the successful mission abroad. EAC News reporter Yuri Matusko has the story.
73 members of the Blue Helmet Force, including 28 women from the 186th Royal Gendarmerie Squadron, have returned to Cambodia after the successful completion of a year-long peacekeeping mission in the Republic of South Sudan. The return of the troop was welcomed by the Director General of the National Center for Peacekeeping Forces, General Saim Savani, and some Blue Helmet Army leaders at the Phnom Penh International Airport. The general welcomed the Blue Helmets back and congratulated them for a successful mission abroad. He also relayed further messages of greeting from Prime Minister Hun Sen, Minister of Defense Tia Ban, and Minister of Foreign Affairs Prak Sokhon. The rotating division taking their place in South Sudan will be the 739th Royal Gendarmerie Squadron, with a total force of 73 people, including 34 women. 2021 marks the 10th year of Cambodia's participation in the UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. But the kingdom has been sending Blue Helmets troops on various UN peacekeeping missions since 2006. A total of 7,889 personnel have been deployed so far, exemplifying the Cambodian forces' good cooperation, discipline, and courage to perform its role at any time and in any region of the world. Yuri Matusko, EAC News.
The Royal Government Attorney Group has released a statement on Wednesday stressing that Cambodia has no political prisoners, only politicians convicted of committing criminal offences. The group's statement says persons who commit illegal acts shall be convicted and punished according to the provisions of law. The group's statement states that when a person has perpetrated an act which is defined as a criminal offence, Cambodian criminal law provides for penalties in the forms of imprisonment and fines, in particular which result in criminal action, and imposes civil remedies originated from the victim's civil action serving the purpose of seeking compensation for injuries to a victim of a criminal offence. It stresses that individuals named Sam Rainsy and Tulong Sumara had committed acts which are stipulated as criminal offences under Cambodian law. It also says that the judicial seizure and compulsory sale of assets of a convict is a usual procedure enforced against every person who owes an obligation of providing civil remedies, not just against Sam Rainsy and Tulong Sumara. On Monday, Phnom Penh Municipal Court has released the decision to forcibly sell the house of the former CNRP member, Sam Rainsy, in Pretek Kong Village, Minche District, Phnom Penh. The money earned from selling Rainsy's house will be used as a compensation to the National Assembly President, Heng Sem-rin, Prime Minister Hun Sen, Minister of Interior, Sa King, and the royal government, all worth around $2 million. Chinese President Xi Jinping had a virtual meeting with US President Joe Biden on Tuesday. The two sides conducted thorough and in-depth talks, exchanging views on issues of strategic and fundamental importance, shaping the development of China-US relations, and on important issues of mutual interest.
At the virtual meeting of the two leaders on Tuesday, China's Xi Jinping has pointed out that both China and the US are at a critical stage of development and that the global village of humanity faces multiple challenges. Xi also stressed that a sound and stable China-US relationship is required for advancing the two countries' respective development and for safeguarding a peaceful and stable international environment, including finding effective responses to global challenges such as climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic. The Chinese leader also expressed his readiness to work with President Biden to build consensus and take active steps to move China-US relations forward in a positive direction. He also said that the most important event in international relations over the past 50 years was the resumption and development of China-US relations, which has benefited the two countries and the whole world. And the most important event in international relations in the coming 50 years will be for China and the US to find the right way to get along. Speaking on the same occasion, President Biden stated that the US-China relationship is the most important bilateral relation in the world. He has added that the two sides need to have open and candid dialogues to enhance understanding of each other's intentions and to make sure that competition between the two countries is fair and healthy and does not veer into conflict. The US president echoed Xi's comment that history is a fair judge and that they should make the relationship work and not mess it up. President Biden reiterated that the U.S. does not seek to change China's system, the revitalization of its alliance is not anti-China, and the U.S. has no intention to have a conflict with China. He reaffirmed the U.S. government's long-standing One China policy, stated that the U.S. does not support Taiwan independence, and expressed the hope for peace and stability to be maintained in the Taiwan Strait. The two sides agreed to maintain close communication in different forms and steer China-US relations back on the right track of sound and steady development in the interest of the people in both countries and around the world. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
Now for a look at news making international headlines this Wednesday, 17th of November.
Polish security forces turned water cannon on migrants who throw rocks across the Belarusian border. Thousands have gathered in a chaotic attempt to reach the European Union, which a footage clearly shows. In the video, a migrant is seen falling on the ground after being hit by a stream of water. Poland and other European countries have accused Belarus of encouraging the migrants to attempt to cross illegally into the European on its territory in revenge to Western sanctions imposed on Minsk for human rights abuses. while Belarus blames the West for the humanitarian disaster that is building on its border with Poland. An estimated 4,000 migrants are at the border, and many say Belarusian authorities are not allowing them to return to Minsk. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says that he was deeply concerned about how Belarus was putting the lives of vulnerable migrants at risk. Belarus' close Russian ally said assertion it had fueled the border crisis were absurd. Lukashenko had a call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday to discuss the crisis.
Two separate blasts rocked the streets of Uganda's capital Kampala on Tuesday morning. Uganda police spokesperson Fred Enanga has confirmed that 6 people are dead. 3 of them were the suicide bombers. The total so far of the injured persons the authorities have rushed to the Mulago National Referral Hospital has reached to 33. 5 of them are in critical condition. The strong blasts in Kampala have shocked a nation that is known as bulwark against violent Islamist militants in East Africa, and whose leader has spent years cultivating Western security support. 2 police officers were among the victims. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Police intelligence indicated the Islamic State-aligned allied democratic forces were responsible. The explosions, the first near the central police station and the second very close to the parliament, sent blooded office workers rushing for cover over shards of broken glass as a plume of white smoke rose above the downtown area. The first blast near the checkpoint at the police station, which killed 2 people, was carried out by a suicide bomber wearing a backpack. The second attack, involving 2 suicide bombers on motorbikes, killed 1 person. The Al-Qaeda-linked Somali insurgent group Al-Shabaab has carried out deadly attacks in Uganda in the past, including a 2010 attack that killed 70 people. Ugandan soldiers are fighting Al-Shabaab in Somalia as part of a UN-backed African Union peacekeeping force. An Al-Shabaab spokesman was not immediately available for comment.
And the Russian Federation recklessly conducted a destructive satellite test against one of its own targets and put arrest to astronauts on the International Space Station and other activities in outer space, the U.S. State Department has announced on Monday. The test has so far generated over 1,500 pieces of trackable orbital debris, hundreds of thousands of pieces of smaller orbital debris that now threaten the interests of all nations. Experts say weapons that shatter satellites pose a space hazard by creating clouds of fragments that can collide with other objects, setting off a chain reaction of projectiles through the Earth's orbit. Russia's dangerous and irresponsible behavior jeopardizes the long-term sustainability of outer space and clearly demonstrates that Russia's claim of opposing the weaponization of space are disingenuous and hypocritical. The United States will work with its partners to respond to Russia's irresponsible act.
After the break, a look at all your latest sports news.
EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code. and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, please, please wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. EAC News' audience is growing. Our YouTube channel has over 150,000 verified subscribers. To mark the milestone, we've received the Silver Creator Award from YouTube. It's given to channels with over 100,000 subscribers. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki says the award celebrates EAC News' hard work and incredible achievement. She says we brought a unique voice and style to the world, but have also created valuable connections and built a community along the way. The next milestone we're going for is 1 million subscribers, and we'd really like that Gold Creator Award. So if you're not already a subscriber, head to YouTube and search for EAC News. Subscribers get alerts when the Daily Roundup is premiering and live events are streaming. Get all the latest breaking news and updates from Cambodia in English. The EAC News channel on YouTube. Cambodia made clear. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Female Petanque 2021 world champion Uksremom has finally returned home on Tuesday evening. The celebrated athlete who won the gold medal in the World Finals in Spain was warmly welcomed by her team from Federation of Bowls and Petanque of Cambodia.
Sireismon's return was accompanied by a convoy of official cars and motorbikes that escorted her all the way to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports near the Royal Palace. She was personally congratulated by the Minister Hun Sen. This is the second time that Uksremom has won the World Pentathlon gold medal after winning the World Pentathlon Games in Ghent, Belgium in 2017. The nation was exceedingly proud of their golden athlete who had pulled off a remarkable victory as she secured the gold by defeating her Thai counterpart 37-29 in the thrilling final. On her return, the VIP treatment was befitting Cambodia's most recent champion. Even the Prime Minister Hun Sen was caught up in the feeling of euphoria, writing on his Facebook page on the Sunday afternoon that the nation is very proud of her remarkable achievement, congratulating Uksremom on her 2021 World Championship win.
Argentina and Brazil drew in a tense end-to-end match, ending 0-0 on Tuesday. Both teams retained their unbeaten record in the South American World Cup qualifiers. Brazil is the only side in the 10-team South American section to guarantee their place in next year's finals. Argentina are sitting in second place, 6 points behind, and they look certain to join them. The top 4 teams qualify automatically for Qatar, and the 5th place sides go into an interregional playoff. Neither side was able to impose themselves in an entertaining match. When Fred's second half shot for Brazil clipped the top of the bar, that was the closest either team came to breaking the deadlock. However, Brazil's coach Tite was critical of an alleged elbow during the match. The goalless draw in San Juan means Argentina is now 27 matches unbeaten, a run stretching back more than 2 years. The last time these two teams met in action, it only lasted 5 minutes, as officials evaded the pitch, accusing the Argentinian players of not following the proper COVID-19 quarantine rules.
Who was responsible for the video assistant referee? Is it impossible, I repeat, impossible to not see Argentina's Nicolas Otamendi's elbow on Rafinha? I am not talking about the results of the match. Is it very clear who wants an exemption of the analysis? Would that determine the results of the match? I don't know. Was it a great game between the two sides? It was a great game, with tradition and technical quality. The technical level of the two teams, the marking and positioning, the strengths of the two teams and individual duels, the alternating of moments of control and dominance made it a World Cup match.
The last time these two teams met in action, it only lasted 5 minutes, as officials evaded the pitch, accusing the Argentinian players of not following the proper COVID-19 quarantine rules. Let's have a look at the weather and see what you can expect over the next few days. And finally, Israel startup Redefine Meat will begin offering 3D printed plant-based meat products at selected high-end restaurants in Europe. The company has made the announcement on Tuesday, also unveiling what it called the world's first whole cuts that resemble lamb and beef cuts.
Israeli startup firm Redefine Meat on Tuesday has expanded operations into Europe, where it hopes to reach thousands of restaurants by the end of next year. It has served for the first time its plant-based whole cuts of alternative meat. The 3D printed beef substitute was rolled out in Israel, as well as Germany, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. A mix of soy and pea protein, chickpeas, beetroot, nutritional yeasts, and coconut fat, it mimics flank steak, which is also known as bavette. The company has claimed to have cracked the holy grail of the alternative meat industry, which is largely producing minced products that often lack the fibrous texture found in animal meat. Redefine Meat's range of products, called New Meat, now includes the whole cuts, plus burgers, sausages, lamb kebabs, and ground beef, as it hopes to become the world's largest meat company by offering every single cut that a cow does. The company works with about 150 restaurants in Israel, working on a launch in the US and Asia. As technology advances and improves the taste and variety of alternative meats, sales in the sector could reach $140 billion by 2029, about 10% of the world meat market. Redefine Meat uses 3D printers and ink to print the steaks. The firm aims to sell the printers and the cartridges to meat distributors worldwide, who will both print and distribute the meat once produced. The ink is made of plant-based ingredients similar to what a cow eats. It contains proteins from legumes and grains to create the muscle texture of the alternative meat. It also contains fats from the plants to mimic the beef fat, and natural flavors and colors to mimic the blood factor in meat and its juiciness.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on the EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check out our website, eacnews.asia, or search EAC News on Telegram or at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow at 8 p.m. We will see you then.